welcome to our next panel, Fact or Fiction Live, with the Professor and Wedge, who you may have seen from our previous panel.
Why don't you ever say my name
Surprise
first?
Professor and Wedge panel starting now.
I did say your name
Fact
first
or
last
fiction?
time.
Wait, did you?
Yeah.
Fact.
During the last panel, the YouTube
Okay.
panel, when you were arguing about the fact that you should go by subscriber count or who's better at magic.
No, we should go by who's better at magic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so this panel is going to be, I will make a statement to them, and they will answer fact or fiction, and then give their reasoning why. If you have anything that you would like to add, please feel free to come see our directors over here, and they will take your statements, and we will try and bring them up during the show.
I want to warn everyone before we begin, since this is asking for my opinion on all things Magic the Gathering, that I have many opinions on Magic the Gathering, all of them strong.
And long-winded.
Incredible. I'm not
well
gonna speak at all.
enunciated.
So, to start off, we're going to go with one statement that was given to us online from Mr. Cedric Phillips. This was actually
Who's that?
This is actually a tweet that Cedric
Oh,
posted.
that's that guy who does commentary on Channel Fireball. He's really
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Ooh. So this was a tweet that Cedric sent out that I actually think is a very good, controversial opinion. Unified Constructed is the worst format in Magic. Fact or fiction?
Well, not the worst.
So...
Fiction?
Fiction? Okay.
Fiction.
It sounded like a fiction with
bad.
a caveat.
I mean, I agree it's bad.
So, okay, here's where I'm at. Fiction, because I think 1v1 Commander is the worst format in Magic. I think the format's broken. I think that that's evident based on the fact that the last ban was half of a red deck. Like, when was the last time 1v1 competitive EDH was healthy? Oh, wait.
I think that the worst format in Magic is that version of Pack Wars you were doing the other day, Wedge.
Do not
like your
trash,
own personal
do
Pai
not
Gow Pack
trash
Wars.
on my Pai Gow Pack
That
Wars.
I think Pai Gow Pack Wars is the worst way.
How
to
dare
play.
you?
That is the most awful
At
way to
least
play
mine
Magic.
are actual games of Magic. You just do like a converted mana cost math thing. You don't
I
even
do
play.
War. I do extra gambling War Pack Wars.
Like, I know you don't know how to play Magic, but can you at least pretend?
I would say the second worst format in Magic. Should I upset people and say like Frontier or Tiny Leaders or something, or is that too soon?
Those
too soon.
don't count as
Okay,
formats.
no.
Those don't count as formats.
I'm going to lose the audience.
Magic, yeah. All right, so the next statement comes from David Semenchik. Fact or fiction? Modern is one good mill spell away from a tier 1 mill deck.
Fact.
Absolutely.
If you're a go on. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I've played a lot of mill. I've done a tech for it. I've done a lot of play testing for it. Even now, the deck takes tier 1 strategies by surprise all the time. They have no idea how to side against it. They have no idea how to play against it. No one learns how to play against it. So you see it 5-0 competitive leagues every month, almost every week, on a weekly basis, because if somebody has been playing mill long enough, they know the hands to keep. They know how to just dumpster opponents who are playing real decks. And those people have no practice against mill. By playing mill that one time in that competitive league, they have no idea how to fight it, and they never learn. So yes, one mill card, that is absolutely a tier deck.
Absolutely. And when you
100%.
consider like what mill already can get there, like Wedge said, mill is already 5-0ing in competitive leagues. So that says a lot to me. One more card to push it over the edge, it'll be there. And I would say that looking at mill cards, like especially since we just got that reprint of Glimpse the Unthinkable, now's the time to scoop up that play set, because as soon as they do in Ravnica, for Dimir, which they're going to do hella Dimir.
Because that's all they
mill,
do to Dimir is give them mill.
They're going to make a mistake and accidentally make a good card. They try not to, but they're going to accidentally make a good card, and that'll be all that mill needs to suddenly be viable in Modern, and Glimpse will shoot right back up, as will Archive Trap and Hedron Crab and everything. I think you could build Dimir Mill for Modern now and fiddle around with it, and then just wait for that card, which is probably coming sometime in the next year, because we're returning to Ravnica for 3 sets, and you just know there's going to be Mill.
There's a version of that deck on youtube.com/themanosaurus that does pretty well.
Drop.
Hey.
All right, so the next statement, also from David Semenchik. Fact or fiction? Planeswalkers were a mistake.
Fact.
I would like
hired me.
I would like justification.
Okay. I refer to the way in which they were made. Planeswalkers should have been made. The card and the idea of the card should have been made, but the implementation of Planeswalkers was a huge mistake and has irrevocably changed and, dare I say it, damaged Magic the Gathering gameplay. Why? Planeswalkers are incredibly hard to interact with. When somebody slams a Planeswalker, most of the time it's GG. That should not exist in Magic. If you are not on a creature-based deck, how do you interact with a Planeswalker? You don't have creatures to swing with, but Magic is about diversity of deck types, and so I shouldn't have to be on a creature-based deck in order to interact with your creature. And disrupting my ability to swing at your Planeswalker is so easy to do by focusing on my creatures and knowing that my Planeswalker is going to lock down the board in most cases. Liliana the Veil hits the board and locks it down so fast. Emblems that every Planeswalker makes cannot be interacted with. Once an emblem is made, I have no ability, no matter what, no matter how much mana I have, no matter how much long the game goes on, I can never get rid of that emblem. Why? How is it fair that there is a thing made? Then why not just make the emblem say you win the game? I say Planeswalkers should have been a lot more like the sagas in Dominaria, which are A+ design. Dominaria sagas are fantastic. And that is much more what a Planeswalker should have looked like, with the exception being that we need to be able to, destroy target creature should work on a Planeswalker or something. We need ways to interact with these things.
Okay, so I'm also going to say fact, but because I also think it was a design mistake. What I would have wanted, what if you did like legendary creature Planeswalker and it functioned like a level up creature or something like that? That's what I wanted, something more easily interactive, because using the word Planeswalker erases any potential removal from the first how many years of Magic?
Yeah.
Like, it outdates the game. Like, it makes the rest of the game outdated, which is awful. Also, emblems are stupid. Anything you get that you cannot interact with under any means is toxic gameplay. Like,
yeah,
not being able to remove something is just awful. Like, if you have no option whatsoever, it's disheartening. It's completely disheartening. So, I like Planeswalkers as an idea, but I don't think they should be their own creature, like their own type.
In terms of the excitement that Planeswalkers brought to Magic the Gathering, the intrigue, the renewed energy and interest in both existing and non-existing players, that's great. It was a great idea to introduce that distinct element, but the way in which they did it is basically making like if a Planeswalker is no good, it's because the Planeswalker isn't a god card. So a good Planeswalker is a god card. That should not be the case. Sagas are not god cards. Sagas can absolutely swing a game in your favor. They're powerful cards.
Have you played History of Benalia?
But it isn't. Whatever. The Saga of Benalia is not going to win me the game guaranteed, but it's great fun to play. It's incredibly flavorful, and that should have been more in that vibe with Planeswalkers as opposed to these non-interacting, lock down the board, win the game for you. Well, whatever.
I do want to add one more thing. I know one of the arguments in favor of Planeswalkers comes from like a flavor standpoint, in that it can help players identify easier with characters or color identities. And people, they tie themselves to Planeswalkers, and I get that. But look at Commander. I think people do that way more with legendary creatures from Commander than they do with Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Like, I think people recognize, like, oh, I'm Azorius, or I'm Gruul, or Naya, or...
Well, look at the way it's shifted the attention away from you, your deck, your colors. And once Magic was like, what are you? I'm on, Selesnya Slivers, and that's me. I'm the Sliver Lord, the Planeswalker of the Slivers. And now it's like, now you're casting Jace's Mind Wipe, Gideon's Resolve, Liliana's Spectre. Where are you in all of that? Everything you're casting is, how is Battle at the Bridge even a spell? What, you got a spell book and you're like, I cast Battle at the Bridge that people other than me did, and there you go. That hits you. That makes, I cast Mouth. What is that? Where is the magic in Magic the Gathering? Anyway, Jeremy, next question.
So fact is pretty much where we're at.
Pretty hard fact.
Yeah, pretty hard fact.
All right, so this one is from Richard Conley. I'm going to break it up into two different segments. The first is just Wizards of the Coast will finish the Sword of X and Y cycle allied colors. Fact or fiction?
Say again?
Wizards of the Coast will finish the Sword of X and Y cycle
Oh, sure. They have so few new ideas. They'll absolutely just go to that well.
Yeah, 100%.
Fact. They're just like, that's on the board.
Fact. They love
And
completing
they'll get
cycles.
the same artist to make the art, and they'll say, make it look really similar so that if you don't see the rest of the card, you're not sure which sword it is.
Yeah.
We don't want the cards to be distinct and memorable. Make all the swords look the same.
Okay. So the rest of their statement is, these will be finished within the next year of standard sets.
No.
Fiction.
They will not, because Wizards doesn't do that.
Yeah.
They finish cycles in a decade and a half.
I predict when we return to New Phyrexia,
That's fair. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All
totally
right.
fair.
All right.
which will be next year. You heard it here first. From Ravnica,
That is not the
we're going to go
first
from
place.
Ravnica to New Plane Nobody Cares About to New Phyrexia.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually does sound pretty normal. Yeah.
I'm calling it now. Viking Plane will be the plane in between Ravnica and
Skull.
New Phyrexia.
Cool.
Right.
So John Jeffrey asks two questions, and these were questions that were asked during the last panel that I think I want to get your perspectives on this. There are two sides of the same coin. Holding the Pro Tour further from the set release is a better experience for the pros.
I don't care what's a better experience for the pros. I care what's a better experience for the viewers and players.
I would like to add, I also don't care.
Okay, so the next question, or the next statement was, holding the Pro Tour further away from the set release is a better experience for the viewers.
Fiction.
Fiction, I agree.
I think it's much better closer for the viewers.
And why is that?
It's way more innovative. You have a lot more off-the-cuff deck building. You have a lot less time to prepare. You can't do as much like sort of online mining. It's just less information, and less information makes for a more dynamic experience. It just does. Like that's just like a 1-to-1 ratio. The more time these pros have, the more of them are going to be like black-red aggro. That's where I need to be. Whereas maybe 2 weeks after the Pro Tour, when we were looking at Grand Prix, right after Dominaria, Vehicles was still around. Vehicles was still like top 8, and there were multiple versions of it all over the place. And at the Pro Tour, gone. So something between like Grand Prix Birmingham and the Pro Tour stopped people from playing Vehicles. And if that hadn't happened, if we didn't wait that long, I think we would have seen a much more diverse meta. And for viewers, I think that would be way better. I don't care about if it's better for the pros. I also don't know because I'm not a pro.
The further away you hold a Pro Tour from a set release, the more control is going to be dominant. Control is what we gravitate towards. The more we understand a format,
Unless
the more
aggro's
we
broken.
understand a meta. Well, yes, of course. I'm not talking in that one exception. Thank you, Magic player. But well, what about me? What about this? Yeah, I get it, Wedge. But when that isn't the case,
do you?
control is what we're going to gravitate towards at the end, and you don't want to watch control v control matchups on camera.
Says
also
who?
the excitement that you have for a new set is going to diminish the furthest from that set. You want to have Pro Tour Dominaria a week before Return to Ravnica? Nobody cares about Dominaria. At that point, we're thinking about Ravnica. So having it right after the set, we've all played with the cards at pre-release and launch. We've all started to build our decks. We watch what the pros are doing. We get back down to the LGS, Friday Night Magic, Standard Showdown.
I mean,
Sunday show up. Wednesday, why not?
Get that alliteration. I think this issue is also impacted by the fact that we have so many set releases now, where you have Pro Tour Dominaria that sort of happened right before Battle Bond came out. Like, there's set fatigue. It's going to be a thing.
During their preview event.
And people, what?
During their preview event was when Pro Tour Dominaria.
Yeah, like this is what I'm saying. Like, this is crazy that there's all this overlap. Like, why are you bringing the Pro Tour season into a whole other set? And it almost seems like Battle Bond was sort of pushed into this.
Sure,
like,
it gets forgotten and everything.
this
It doesn't
only
get to have
corner
its
where
own
Battle Bond is
light.
such a cool
Can you imagine
set.
if they had done a Battle Bond where, since they're so big on teams, all the pros had to team up and do a Battle Bond on coverage, like maybe a
Grand
Open
Prix
or a
Battle Bond?
GP. Why was there no Grand Prix Battle Bond? I would have loved to have seen that.
That was sick.
Right, and it would have gotten me excited to go in and play it for more than a week, but as they do it, they only have like 1 week to 2 weeks of interest for these sets like Conspiracy and Battle Bond. The number of new Magic the Gathering sets is too damn high.
I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that
Do you get
there
that
were,
reference?
Yes.
It's old.
That there
not
were
that old.
It's
more
old.
Magic sets and supplementals released this year than any other year in Magic's history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Number of people working in R&D remains the same. That's a recipe for success.
Figure that out.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one comes from Billy Mitchell. There should be sets produced to add new cards to Modern without entering Standard.
That is fiction, Billy.
Fiction.
Billy, you don't want Wizards trying to design cards for your favorite format. That's
Nope.
not a recipe for success.
Every-
You don't want WotC messing with your format. They'll start banning Splinter Twin. They'll start making, forced fun in Commander cards. They'll make True Name. They'll look at Wizards of the Coast looked at Commander and said a great card for this would be True Name Nemesis. You want them to do that in Modern?
All right, think about it this way, because I think we've spoken about this before, like a few years
Yeah.
ago. This, the card Song of the Dryads for Commander, right? It was created as a green enchantment that just is like green removal for all intents and purposes. They made it specifically for that. You could look at a card like Fatal Push in Standard, which is very clearly a Modern card. Fatal Push is just a Modern card. Do you really want entire products like that for Modern? The reason why Extended was successful when it was, the reason why Modern is successful is because you build with what Standard expands upon. Standard expands upon itself, and you build something out of that. Once Wizard starts designing for it, it's gonna change the entire meta,
Yeah.
and something will break, and we won't have, like right now, the fact that Modern is as healthy as it is kind of a miracle when you think about the amount of cards in the format and how dynamic the bans and unbans have been.
Yeah.
Kind of a miracle. If you just inject that with Modern legal, like with a Modern specific set, you're gonna break something.
Also,
Like-
would you rather, if you're in black, in Modern, you're probably looking at running some Fatal Pushes, because as Wedge said, that clearly was designed with Modern in mind. Would you rather take Fatal Push away from being an uncommon in a block set and then say, it's going to be our rare in our made just for Modern special supplemental product. We'll make 3 decks. Fatal Push will be in one of the 3 and at rare, and now it's $100 each in Modern or whatever, and it's the only way you can get it. That's how it would go down. Once again, I reference True Name Nemesis. This is not a good idea. You want to sell packs? Put the cards in the packs. Stop with all this, other stuff. Put the cards in the packs.
So yeah, we're pretty unanimous.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, sounds like it. All right, speaking of Modern and bannings and such, as you said, there are a couple of specific ones that people ask. Lori Blooney, loyal player of Modern Elves, says that unbanning Glimpse of Nature would be fine for Modern. Fact or fiction? This one's a thinker.
Fact. Based on very little actual information.
Fiction.
Based on my heart.
Ooh,
My
divided.
heart says unbannings is the way to go. I want to see more cards unbanned in Modern to give us more choices and more diversity and more ability to do what we want. I think the solution to problems is seldom bannings, regardless of the format, but simply answers. And Modern's all about answers.
Generally, I agree. I like unbannings more than bannings, but Glimpse of Nature is a stupid card. And if you unban
They're
Glimpse of
good
Nature,
cards, Wedge.
No, oh God! Yes, there were a lot of preemptive bans to Modern because I wanted to make sure stuff didn't break. They banned too many cards initially. I do agree with that. Glimpse of Nature was not one of those cards. If you unban Glimpse of Nature, not only does Elves become even more ridiculous than it already is, and that deck is fine, by the way. That deck's doing crazy stuff. But there are like turn 1 and turn 2 decks. I think Chris Van Meter was actually playing one that was turn 2 going off. And he's like, if this just had Glimpse of Nature, I'd be at like 70% win rate.
Yeah.
And like there are decks like Glimpse of Nature enables broken synergies. And it enables broken synergies in a degenerative way. So while I do agree that I prefer unbannings over bannings, Glimpse of Nature I think is a bad example of a card to unban.
Okay, so
I just think it's too good.
Another card that was, I believe, on the original ban list. Andrew Gordon states Stoneforge Mystics should be unbanned in Modern.
Fact.
And why do you believe that?
Because I don't think that the rest of the package in Modern supports how broken it can be. I think that removal is plentiful enough that Stoneforge Mystic isn't going to use its ability ever. I don't think that control is powerful enough to protect it as needed. And I know there are a lot of control shells that even given the option to run a Stoneforge package still might not. Just given the way that Modern shakes out right now. I think right now, I don't think Stoneforge would break the format.
What if they unbanned both Stoneforge and Glimpse simultaneously?
No, Glimpse would just take over. What did I just say?
I wasn't
He made his
listening.
case.
I think that I'm going to agree with Wedge on this one. You can unban Stoneforge. The reason it was preemptively banned was just because everyone was freaking out about, Cawblade and that. And it's like, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
Okay, the last modern banning question. Splinter Twin should be unbanned.
Fact.
Why do you believe that?
All right.
Should have never been banned in the
This one
No,
came
it's
from,
okay.
this one came
there we
from
go.
multiple
Okay,
people.
that's where I want to start. One, it was a victim.
Okay.
It was a victim of circumstance. It should not
Splinter
have been
Twin
banned.
did nothing
the
wrong.
the reason why
Leave
it was banned.
Splinter Twin alone.
Yes, literally that meme. The reason why it was banned is because people wanted more modern Pro Tour coverage, right? So Wizards was worried that it wouldn't be interesting enough because Splinter Twin was everywhere. So they banned Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin is a gatekeeper for the format. It's a necessary gatekeeper for the format. It forces other decks to play fair. Like, it stops degenerative combos.
Eldrazi Winter would have never happened if Splinter Twin hadn't been banned.
Yes.
Not to that degree.
I mean, not to that degree at all. Like, Splinter Twin is one of the decks that forces other decks to just be fairer.
Right.
Like, it makes a format healthy. It's sort of like how Affinity is almost like a gatekeep deck. Like, you need to be prepared to deal with Affinity because you just have to. Splinter Twin is like that. Birthing Pod, not like that, for the record. I think that Birthing Pod is more degenerative than Splinter Twin, but Splinter Twin performed a function that I think was necessary, and in a case if Eldrazi Win or something like that ever happens again, if Splinter Twin was in Standard, you would actually know if something was broken or not.
Yeah.
Because if Splinter Twin can't 50-50 with it, there's probably an issue, or even can't like 45-55. Like, Splinter Twin was good for Modern, it helped the format be healthy, and maybe it isn't the greatest to view, but it's good for the format.
I also disagree with that because I really think people come from this perspective, and it's like, again, Wizards is dictating our opinions to us in this way, and I can't stand it. And they're saying, well, if you think about it, people don't want to just watch people play with the same decks again and again.
You just said you didn't want people to play Control versus Control, and that's what a lot of Splinter Twin mirrors were. A lot of those became Control versus Control because you're arguing against yourself.
I am arguing against you.
No, you're not.
My point is not on the style of deck in this particular thing that I'm saying right now, Wedge. My point is that we watch basketball, and basketball players play with the same ball again and again. We watch all this stuff. Poker, we're playing with the same cards. It's okay that for Modern, which shouldn't be happening all the time in terms of like Pro Tour GPs coverage, that we're seeing like the best players in the world play with these decks that we know where we expect certain things, and we get to see new innovations, new plays, new, like moves and stuff like that. And again, people have looked at the numbers, and Splinter Twin was not dominating, it was just consistent.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that consistency. We're Magic players, we're about consistency.
Yeah, when Splinter Twin was banned, it wasn't even the most played deck in the format. Affinity was. It's kind of
I'm nervous about unbanning it now because Modern is so perfect. I just don't want to mess with it. So I'm like, who knows what'll happen?
Splinter Twin should have never been banned, but now that it is banned, I'd rather leave it.
What happens?
I'd rather leave it until something else breaks Modern, and then when they try to fix it, unban Twin.
Okay. All right, so this is one that came from a few different people. I'm going to use the one that was from Carlos Carrera. Within 5 years' time, Legacy will go the way of Vintage, Modern will become the new Legacy, and WotC will create a new non-rotating format to be the in-between of Standard and Modern.
Fiction?
All right, hang on. Read those one at a time, because there's some of those are facts, some of those are fiction.
Yeah,
so
very
read them one at a time.
No,
They are very
that's why I
different
said
statements.
fiction, because only one of those things is false.
Okay,
Right.
so Legacy will go the way of Vintage.
Fact.
Fact.
Okay, Modern will become the new Legacy.
Fiction.
Really?
Yeah, Modern will not become the new Legacy because there is no reserve list in Modern. All it takes is a reprint.
Yeah, but think about what you're saying right now. No, I'm being honest. Like,
I know.
Think about what you're saying.
They're
Engineered Explosives is $80.
Holy hell.
Yes.
Scalding Tarn, even with the reprint, a playset is still over 300.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not like so. Think about this. Even Tarmogoyf, that isn't even used as much as it used to be and hasn't been printed in years, is still like what 80, 90, something like that.
Why, Wizards? Why?
But this is what I'm saying: is in a vacuum, you are right. But this is not a vacuum.
Hang on. I didn't hear you with the announcement. In a vacuum, what?
In a vacuum, you're right.
All right, we can move on to the next one. I am right.
The next one, which is the one that actually came up multiple times, is that sometime in the future, Wizards will create a new non-rotating format to be the in-between of Standard and Modern.
Fact.
Fiction.
Really? You see them jumping at the bit to do this with stuff like Frontier. They were salivating over that. If only,
they're so excited about
They were.
Frontier.
If Harry Ruya Games, who invented Frontier, had only known what they were doing and not had the bloody fetch lands in it and gone a little further forward, Wizards would have been all over it like Bolas on an evil plan.
That's the best that you could.
That's
come
the
up
best
with
thing
there?
I could come up with.
That was what you came up with.
Okay.
Like Gideon on a, what do you call those exercise things? CrossFit. They'd be all over that like Gideon on a CrossFit.
I mean, marginally better. Okay, so
How are you doing, fellow kids?
I don't think that's true because I think they're going to quadruple down on Modern.
No,
I think they're just going to keep pushing Modern, and I think
they're
gonna
giving
keep,
up on Modern Masters.
No, I think they're going to keep doing stuff like Brawl. I think they're going to keep trying to incorporate standard cards
Right.
with rotations. I don't think they like non-rotating formats.
I know.
Like, they're not fans. They want rotation. They want
Right.
people in cards.
So why would
want
they
people
double
buying
down on
packs.
Modern? Why wouldn't
What?
they set
No,
it
I'm
ablaze
saying
and start
as
with a new
they're
one?
trying-
Now you need to get.
No, he said new non-rotating
Yeah.
format. And I'm saying that's not happening. A new format that rotates, like a new extended.
New extended.
Maybe. Not new. They will not make another non-rotating format. I can't see that happening.
I think they're going to do it. I think they would love it. See if you can follow me on this. I think Wizards of the Coast is looking at Modern and they're saying it doesn't rotate, but what if the non-rotating formats themselves rotated? And what if we said this line that Modern has just been around too long, what we need is a new Frontier-like but better designed
That would be
non-rotating
so
format,
disgusting.
and then in 10 years that format will rotate, sort of thing, and we'll come up with a new
So
one.
basically rotation, but after 10 years.
Yeah, no, but like not rotation. They'll just stop
They'll
supporting
they'll
it.
stop
Yeah,
supporting
They'll
the
just-
format, and then they'll
let it
support
die
the new
naturally.
one. Yeah,
Sort
that's
of-
what I think
sort
they
of like
want
what
to
they
do.
did with Legacy.
Yeah.
They're just letting
Bingo.
Legacy die
They want
naturally.
That's what they want to do.
But they will call it something new instead of
Yes.
modern.
They will call it a more buzzwordy word than modern.
Yep. Okay.
That's genius. I didn't even think of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's evil, but damn.
Wait, that was what? You didn't even what? That was what?
Sorry, what?
You said I.
Let's
Oh
move
yeah,
on to
yeah.
the next
that
one,
was
why don't we?
mediocre.
Wanja Huber states, sets designed by Richard Garfield are better than others.
Fact.
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 Hard fact, it sounds like.
Literally
Why-
the best Magic designer who's ever existed.
Yes.
Why do we believe
Love. I love Mark Rosewater. Richard
All
Garfield,
right.
best
All
Magic
right.
designer.
Original Ravnica block. Richard Garfield. Original Innistrad. Richard Garfield. Dominaria. Richard Garfield. I mean, come on.
I mean,
Three-
every other set besides that too. He's just been absurd.
three home runs and you're embarrassing R&D. Here's what I don't get. Maybe you can answer this, Wedge.
Sure.
We look at Innistrad.
Uh-huh.
We made Innistrad. We look at original Ravnica. We made original Ravnica. We look at Dominaria. We made Dominaria. Why can't these people, who it's the same people, why can't they do that for every set? Why can't every set be as good as original Innistrad?
Because Mark Rosewater has kids to feed, man.
Oh, you're really in the blame Morrow camp?
I'm obviously not. That was
Since-
sarcastic beyond reason.
Since you did bring up all the home runs that Richard Garfield did, do you believe that if Richard Garfield were a full-time designer, that every set would be a home run?
How much power would he have?
If he were to, say, be in Mark Rosewater's position now.
Well, that's very little power.
That's fair.
All right, wait. Aaron Forsythe's.
Aaron
Yeah.
Forsythe's power. That's,
I'd
that's
like
a better
Richard
one.
Garfield to take Aaron's job. I think Aaron might like Richard Garfield to take Aaron's
I was gonna say
job.
I also think Aaron would like that.
Yeah. he looks like...
just based on knowing Aaron, he'd be like, sure.
I think there's probably an office policy
So-
that says nobody express that you'd be interested in Aaron's job or he'll take you up on it.
Yeah.
So do you believe that if Richard Garfield were in a position of power like that to be the head designer for multiple sets, possibly multiple sets per year?
I think every set would be markedly improved. I think that even with him designing things like OG Ravnica and Innistrad and even Dominaria they cannot happen consistently. Like,
Why? Why can't they crack the code?
who said it's a code?
It's a formula, right?
Sure, yeah, they punch everything into the Grand Calcutron.
Okay. here's the thing. I think I heard recently that one of the reasons is Richard does all this great stuff, besides the fact he's a genius, is Richard Garfield has time to think and rest and be inspired, whereas everybody else in R&D, they have to do a new thing every couple of weeks. They're working on, Return to Theros, which is the one that comes up.
What if they...
Yeah?
Ready?
Right, I'm waiting for it.
What if they hired more members of R&D?
Holy snap. What if...
There are like 3 of them, by the way.
Yeah, right. So if there were more members of R&D, they could have more than 3 people on Masters 25, and then there could be more, effort and work put into
of redemption.
It. Yeah.
All right, so the next one is another system that has changed over the years. Wizards of the Coast should go back to the old PTQ system.
I don't know what the old PTQ system is.
Fact.
It was a single event that happened, usually 100 to 300 players.
He doesn't know anything.
Winner gets the invite to the Pro Tour.
Okay.
And everybody else just gets packs, essentially.
The new system is they have PPTQs, where if you win one of these qualifiers, you go to a regional PTQ, and then if you succeed in the regional PTQ, then you go to the Pro Tour. Now these regional PTQs are generally far away from a lot of people, just for the record, right? Because they're not very common.
There's only a few per
Yeah, there are only
season.
a few. So you have to travel for the RPTQ to qualify for the Pro Tour, which you also have to travel to. It's a dumb system. Immediate fact about this, PTQs are awesome. PTQs got people to go to stores, which was great. If they really want to support local game stores, give people reasons to be there.
Fact.
The difference between a PTQ and a PPTQ is like night and day. It's like 2 different tournaments. You win a PPTQ, what do you win? You win a chance at a more difficult tournament. It's insane. Like, put PTQs back in stores. The fact that they ever remove them is upsetting to me beyond reason.
I'll agree with Wedge.
And for people like me who live in a relatively rural area...
Relatively?
Okay, I live in a village of like 7 people. Who lives in a relatively rural area, the PPTQ, RPTQ system sucks.
Yeah.
For my friends who like competitive Magic. It sucks. Go back. I don't know why they switched in the first place.
So if they were to create PTQs that happened more often, that could happen in smaller stores, because when I was doing PTQs, as a personal aside, I was playing them in Pandemonium Games in Michigan, and it was 200 to 300 person tournaments, and only the winner gets to go.
Yeah.
Is that the way to qualify for the Pro Tour?
I think it's fine. I think, like, obviously the Pro Tour is it's a prestigious honor. Like, it's amazing to be on the Pro Tour. It should not be something you can just get. Having to get past that large of a field to get to something like the professional tour and potentially, create a Magic career for yourself, yes, like, that's fine. If it's 200 or 300 people and you're vying for like that one spot, you're vying for something that's important. Like, I'm perfectly okay with that. I was okay with that when PTQs were like 50 people or 500. It doesn't matter. You're fighting for the same thing, and that's why you're there. Yeah. Like, I'm okay with that. It's part of the dream, Okay. I would rather have that than the winner just have to do it again. Yeah. It's almost demoralizing.
Well, I hear it is very demoralizing.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's a horrible grind, especially after travel.
The next one is, from Travis Hall, the popularity of Brawl will lead to a substantial increase in the number of legends we see in the next few standard sets.
Oh, wait. I thought you were going to say to something else.
Nope.
I thought you were going to say like to sales or business.
Sorry.
No. They will, because they're supporting Brawl.
They'll screw it up. Absolutely.
Wait, could you repeat what you said? Because he was whining into the mic. I couldn't hear.
The popularity of Brawl will lead to a substantial increase in the number of legends we see in the next few standard sets.
Oh, fact. Because it'll be a huge mistake, but fact.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah. Also, especially since we're going to Ravnica, where they love making legends, which, granted, some of them I'm sure are going to be great, but some of them are probably not.
I look forward to them making legends for Brawl that end up being Misery and Commander. See, Leovold. Leovold was made with tiny leaders in mind, and they're like, we should make a cute little card for tiny leaders. And you know what tiny leaders doesn't have is Sultai.
Sultai was the only commander tiny leaders
So we're going to make
have.
a 3-cost Sultai card, and now it's banned in Commander.
Because
This is why you don't want WotC messing with your format.
Just
make
let them make cards
Just make
for limited and
cards.
standard. Done.
We'll do the rest. We'll look at what you've made and say, that'd be fun in Commander. That's something I got an idea for in Modern. Stop trying to force me to go down a certain route.
All right, so...
I did not expect
Or
that
we end up with
specific
Leovolds
question
and True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
in regards to
we got
ball.
about 14 minutes to wrap this up, so let's
All right.
let's throw out the...
That's at least one more question.
yeah, that's well, we're going to throw out the question that's going to lead to the 14-minute debate.
What is it?
Wait, what is that? I want to know what it is. I want to know what it is.
What is it?
What is it?
More cards
What is it?
should be added to the reserved list.
I mean,
Fiction?
like reserve list is garbage nonsense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the reserve list.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So this guy right here is ruining the reserve list.
I am.
He did a video about the top how many cards?
Do you want? Okay, all right. So I hate the reserve list. I think it's ridiculous. But one, ignoring the reserve list doesn't work, right? We can just ignore it. Nothing happens. We whine about it. Nothing happens. So I'm just going to attack it. And how I attack it is, if you haven't seen, I released a video last week, the top 10 best reserve list cards under $20.
They all spiked.
Right? Every single one of them is now over $20.
He's looking to destroy the reserve list by making it as evil as possible.
Yes, my new plan is to piss off everybody because I hate the reserve list and it's ridiculous. And the fact that I can even make a video, the fact that I can even make a video like that is absurd. I shouldn't be able to do that. And even in the video, I said Karn Silver Golem. I was telling them about this. Karn Silver Golem was $16. It's the second most popular colorless commander in Commander, and it's on the reserve list. How is it only $16? Because it was in a From the Vault set. Because the reserve list is nonsense and doesn't exist, and Wizards can do whatever they want. And I said that in the video, and like a lot of viewers like picked up on it. They're like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." Because yes, I'm going to attack the reserve list until everybody's so mad that we tip WotC over.
What did you do?
Because ignoring it isn't working.
What did you do to the price of Peacekeeper in this video?
I moved it from $9 to $45.
Right. No, don't applaud that. Don't applaud that.
No, this is the only way. Everything
Can I
else
hear
we've done,
boo?
everything else we've done doesn't work, right?
Well, but yeah.
Has anything happened? No. So we have to try something else.
It is an interesting experiment in highlighting the absurdity of the reserve list. It needs to go. It needs to be abandoned completely. This is a game that needs to be played. And you know what? Collectors with all those old cards are fine. And you know how we can prove this? Birds of Paradise, which has been reprinted into oblivion. The alpha, the beta, the unlimited Birds of Paradise are still worth a fortune. And they've been reprinted into oblivion. How come an unlimited white border Birds of Paradise is going to still be worth all that money? It's because it's not just about whether or not it's been reprinted. And so we need to reprint this. Royal Assassin from Revised is now $40?
It's
$45?
higher. No, it's higher. It went up again.
Thanks. This is madness.
Like, no, that's a great point. Even if you look at Vintage Masters on Magic Online, if you see the Black Lotus design on that, I mean, it's a cool card, but if they printed that in paper, you really think that alpha Black Lotuses are going to hurt because of that existing? Come on, that's insanity.
Nobody here is buying a Black Lotus like a regular person, and so that's not like, well, I was going to buy that Black Lotus for $16,000, but now I'll just get it for $100.
You know what it is? It's because it's not the fact that supply is increased of the card. It's because the card's the collectible value is so great because it's so old and so rare that it might as well be a different card.
Yeah.
Alpha Black Lotus and Vintage Masters Black Lotus might as well not be the same card because they're really not at all. So even if they got rid of the reserve list, all these people think that their cards are going to tank. They're not. It's not like people who are looking for an Alpha Black Lotus, looking to spend like over 10K, you think they're going to be okay with a Vintage Masters Black Lotus? Come on, they use that as toilet paper. Like, they don't care. They're not going to care.
Yeah.
So reserve list is nonsense.
Reserve list
I'm going to
go.
keep making videos spiking cards because it's nonsense.
He's just going to destroy. He's going to destroy the system. Is his plan?
That's my plan.
All right. Thank you so much, Wedge and the Professor, for coming out and doing this live Factor
That
Fiction.
was 14 minutes.
That was not, but we're going to cut it just a little bit.
Can I ask Jeremy? Can I ask you a Factor Fiction? Factor Fiction, Jeremy. Wizards needs to go back to giving the winner of the biggest Star City Games competitive event an invite to the Pro Tour.
Ooh.
Personally, I think that is fact.
Fact.
Fact. That was a
Thank
good
you
one.
so much, Wedge and Professor, for coming out. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming out for this Fact or Fiction Live panel. I hope you enjoy the rest of your SCGCON. Thank you.